Hello everybody and welcome to Friday at 5. This is hosted by the Color Vowel Chart. I am Karen Taylor, co-author of the Color Vowel Chart. Here with a lot of color vowelists today that come pretty much every Friday, as well as a lot of new people, and we're really excited to have you. Raise your hand. I'm looking at gallery view right now. Just raise your hand if you're new, first-time visitor. All right, there we go. Wonderful. And raise your hand if you've been trained in the color vowel approach. Okay, so you see a lot of folks here know a lot about color vowel and how we teach spoken English. So if you have questions along the way, feel free to ask those questions in the chat. Okay. Today's special topic is the color vowel approach game called Color It Out, developed by Laura McIndoo several years ago after we met at a conference. I think what's important, since we have visitors who are first time, is I'd like to go ahead and review the basics of the color vowel chart for about 2 minutes. And that 2 minutes is a warm-up that we can all participate in. We're focusing in on vowel sounds as the center to prosody, or the rhythm of English for non-native speakers of English. So as I present each vowel, go ahead and just use the strategies that we teach teachers to use with students. We're gonna use our hand in this fashion. So pick one hand, it could be the dominant hand or probably the dominant hand, okay? And please repeat after me with microphones muted. And after this 2 minutes, then we'll move right into color it out, okay? Starting with green. Green, T, E, your turn. T, E. Silver, pin, I, your turn. Silver, pin, I. Gray, day, A, your turn. Red, pepper, your turn. Black, cat, your turn. Black, cat, Olive, sock, Olive, sock, Auburn, dog, Auburn, dog, Turquoise, toy, oi. Turquoise, toy, oi. Orange, door, or. Orange, door, or. Rose, boat, o. Rose, boat, o. Wooden, hook, Wooden, hook, Blue moon, ooh. Blue moon, ooh. A cup of mustard, A cup of mustard, Purple shirt, Purple shirt, Brown cow, ow. Brown cow, ow. And white tie, I. White tie, I. And so if you're new to the color vowel chart, you should know that we organize words by their stressed vowel sound. So that if I take a word like Friday, Friday, I can categorize it as a white tie word. White tie Friday, right? And if I take the word Saturday, what color is that? Can we put that in the chat? Saturday is, what kind of word is Saturday? Saturday, black cat, right? So we'd say black cat Saturday, great. And if we say amazing, that's my last example. Amazing is what color? Yeah, so it's a gray day word. And then we can repeat that, gray, day, amazing. So we always start orally with an introduction to the chart without writing anything or spelling something, because we're finding a way to organize spoken English without the use of references to letters, okay? With that, we then have a set of images that you'll be viewing today. So remember the phrases we just used, and those are used in Color It Out. In 2014, I was at a conference in New Mexico, and I met a woman who was teaching at Central New Mexico Community College named Laura. I found out later, Laura McIndoo. She's waving her hand. And she's just such a jewel because she's a phenomenal teacher. She happens to be a fanatic about games and game creation, and she's a graphic designer. So she took all of these mad skills into sort of one inspiration and created Color It Out from the color vowel chart. And we found that she had created a game that not only teachers like, but actually students from the start were so excited about it. They wanted to get it for themselves. And so I'll let Laura tell you that story by way of introducing Laura.
Sure. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. So a little bit just about the journey. I think one of the things, as Karen was saying, how we realized that we were really onto something is that I know that we're all good teachers and we do lessons and lessons go well and students say thank you and the next day is another day. I came up with this game literally in like 10 minutes. I figured a way to really harness the power of the color vowel chart in a game form so that students would be practicing a lot. But I didn't know if it was going to work. So I printed up just a first sample of it and tried it with my students. And I teach adult ESL immigrants from 20 to 90. And I started playing with my students, and we were about 10 minutes into playing, 15 minutes, and students would call me over and they'd say, I need this. I'm like, okay. And they're like, no, can I buy it? And like one student like took out their wallet and they're like, how much? And I was just like, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I wasn't offended. I just thought, what is going on? And that started this sort of, students would come up to me and say, can I please take the game home and play with my family? Can I take the game home for the weekend? I want to play with my cousins. Can I take the game home? And we realized that through anecdotes and listening to my students, this was a game that provided practice in English for my students to play sometimes with their kids, with their grandkids, with the cousin who would come over. It was like a multi-generational activity. And some students told me that this is the only thing that they do with their family in English, which is amazing. So it wasn't just, come on, we need to practice our English as a family together. They were actually playing and learning. And we just realized that it had the power to reach many, many students. And again, I teach adult ESL. And over the next few months, Karen took it to her kids' Montessori school in Santa Fe. We gave it to some trusted teacher friends, and we realized that it also helps with emerging readers, first language, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. We had a middle school group playing at lunchtime. And some learners with reading difficulties and differences it was really helping reach them. And we realized we had this tool that could reach pretty much all ages and all different backgrounds, all different learning, high end, low end, on the spectrum, everything. And so that's when Karen was like, maybe we need to make this into a real game. Mm-hmm. So Karen graciously decided that we need to actually publish this. And that was in a while ago.
2014 or so.
2015, yeah, exactly. And so we did the first run, and it's been really, really successful. And we've heard wonderful stories from all around the world of students playing this, and again, all different levels, because the words that we chose, it's not just one top 200 list. We looked at all of the top word lists, chose them wisely, didn't just do a blanket, top 10 words. And what we found with the advanced learners, if I would play in my class and some students were pretty high and then some were sort of intermediate, is that the advanced students would play a game and come across a word that they have been mispronouncing for years. And they would say, is this right? Is this really red? Or is this really rose? And I'd say, yes. And their minds would just like explode. They're like, are you kidding me? And their confidence is really high, but this game really shone a light on words one by one, and it was able to correct even advanced speakers' pronunciation about these words that, they're confident enough and they're functional and they're able to communicate, but no one points out, especially to an advanced learner, hey, you're saying that word with the wrong vowel sound. So it actually was very effective for some of my really high-level students, even though the words seem more basic. So Karen, do you want to talk any more about our journey, or should we get into playing?
Well, I think what we'll do is just cover a little bit of the layout of the game so that you can sort of see how it's organized.
Sounds good.
I've just chosen a couple of pictures here. So maybe Laura, you all can see, I think now, right? Wonderful. Yeah, so this is the new game. If you already own Color It Out in a previous print edition, you'll see that the images, like that's the first thing you see, is that the images have been updated, right? So we have in this layout, purple shirt learn and gray day play as the first discard. And we have one player's hand off to the right here. And so Laura, you want to talk about how the spoken turn is designed?
So one thing that I always do in my classes is take a basic game, sort of the way a game functions, a common game, and then adapt it for learning, do grammar or something. And I was trying to figure out how to make the color vowel chart into a game. And I loosely based this on Uno, just in the aspect that in Uno you have to match either a number or the color, I believe, and you have to use up your cards. So it's sort of that you have two choices. So on every card, you have two different color vowels and two words with the stressed vowel underline, as you can see. So the top one there is purple shirt learn. The other one is gray day play. So if that's your hand, you get 7 cards off to the right, and you have the deck on the bottom left. Those are all the rest of the cards in the deck. And you turn one over. And so the card that you have to match from your hand would be the purple shirt learn or the gray day play. So you look through your 7 cards, and chances are you probably have one of those 2 colors, and you see right on the top you have purple shirt world right there. So that would be the card that you play. When you are explaining this to your students, there's kind of 2 things that you need to do, which are pretty simple, but it's fairly consistent that's come up with my classes. This is not a silent game. It's a spoken game. And the speaking is 100% practice. There's not really any operational talk like move forward 3 places or it's your turn or things like that. So as soon as you start, you need to make sure that the students start their spoken turn with the card on the table and then move to the card in their hand. And that's very strategic because what we're doing is we're using the color boundary, the purple, color, the image, and then the word as a scaffold. So the spoken turn is usually 6 words, and it goes like this. It would be purple shirt learn, purple shirt world. And the player would place that card on top of the play and learn card. And the reason that's important is you don't want students taking their cards, looking at the deck like this and going, and that's their turn. We have had students do that for fun, but that's not the point, that's not the practice. So you need to say, wait, start with the card on the table and move to the card in your hand. And the reason that we want to do that order is because once you start playing, they will have just heard the word from the previous turn, right? And so they've heard that word and they're able to use that. And this sequence basically primes their speaking to get that last word correct. So if Karen had gone before and she put down that card, I would look at this and say, purple shirt learn, because I just heard it, purple shirt, and I'm looking at that card, and I just said, and then you apply that sound to the underline in the word, and I know, and I can say and play with confidence, I would say purple shirt world. Does that make sense? So you have this spoken turn that really sets up the player to get that 6th word pronunciation pretty darn close. So you say purple shirt learn, purple shirt world, and you'd place that card on top of the discard. And then the next player.
Word together, Laura, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So let's try. Can everyone hear me? Hold on one second.
I'll mute while you do that, Karen.
Yeah.
There's an echo.
There we go. Is there an echo when I'm talking, guys? No, I'm good. Good. All right. So let me get out of here. I was trying to join in another way so that I could view what you're viewing. So I'm good. All righty. So let's try. Let's everybody try from purple shirt learn to purple shirt word, and notice the position of the mouth and just how we're applying it with each open of the hand. It's like a rubber stamp in a way. We say purple shirt world, purple shirt learn. Actually reverse that. Start with learn, go to world. Ready? Purple shirt learn, purple shirt world. It seems so simple to us, but for a non-native speaker of English who wants to say purple shirt learn and purple shirt world, there's a real awakening of, oh my gosh, these are all supposed to have the same sound. And
or
that's
purple.
purple, right? But even after they know how it sounds in the best way they know it sounds, like they know that it's not purple, that it's purple, they might still be saying purple and world because they have the image that the U and the O in these two words produce different sounds, when in fact in these two words they're the same, right? So there's a sort of a refining of one's understanding of a word one already knows in a lot of cases with the advanced learners.
Exactly. And so that brings to my second point. I was saying the first thing you need to do is remind them, start with a card on the table, move to the card in your hand and make sure they say it. And then what happens, they start playing, and especially with the more confident or advanced players, they'll say, purple shirt, learn, purple shirt, world. And they'll feel the change going, or, right? They'll feel the change, or they'll see one of their classmates, playing, and they'll see their mouth change or something. But many times a student will say, is this right? Isn't it world? And you say, no, actually it is purple shirt. It's purple shirt world. And they go, oh my gosh. So it's interesting because it brings into focus that sixth word, and they're playing and they hear the sound, and they look at that word and their eyes are seeing, in this case, the O-R underlined, and their ears and their jaw, their body is all primed to say and sometimes there's this clash, right, of how they think the word is supposed to sound and then how the game is guiding them to say it. And that moment is very, very powerful. That's when so much learning happens. I've had so many students of all levels say, I've been saying that word wrong for however many years and now I know it. So that spoken turn, it seems very, very simple, but it's very powerful. And that's how they play the game. You continue playing, you match the words. We have skip cards and +2 and wild cards like that. Karen, you want to just do a couple turns together?
Sure.
Want to try?
And then just know that we do have some footage coming up. We'll show you some actual live play of Color It Out in action. We have children as well as adults. So everything we're describing is what we've actually observed learners doing successfully. So we're going to play a little bit in front of you. And I know there are a couple of questions coming up too. One of them being, as we get started, Laura, I have my cards, that, what's different between the older version and the newer version. We printed 2,000 decks of our older version and we've sold out back in December. And so we've just finished our new print edition, and not only the image is new, but also actually the way that we've paired some of the cards. So you'll see some of that in action now. So Laura, are we ready to play a little bit?
Okay, just as a disclaimer, we're 2,000 miles apart. We're not. We tried to choose the same cards so we can play, but it might be a little artificial.
Yeah, we have a subset of cards here. So here's my discard. Here's my draw deck. Okay, I'm putting that down. I'm going to start with this as the discard, and Laura's going to laugh, but the two words are Black Cat Class and Orange Door Laura. I insisted that we included Laura's name because she's done so much to make the game, and plus it's by way of introducing the other main difference, that we now include Orange Door as a color vowel, as a category of words that are in Color It Out. In the prior, I won't go into too much detail, but in our prior set, those of you who have it know that we tried to sort of straddle the world of native speakers who are playing the game with either their children, if they're homeschooling, or if they're using it for a literacy game, as well as non-native speakers who are using it to improve pronunciation and reading. And so we had sort of dialect sensitive options within our deck. And one of them was that we had Auburn Dog and Olive Sock, and there were these striped cards, and we were trying to differentiate. We've really simplified this now to make it a learner game that we know teachers can accommodate, because we can always reach out to you and provide training and answer these kinds of questions. So we now have all of our or words, like more, before, so forth, are coded as Orange Door words. And learners have responded very positively to this. If you're new to Color Vowel and don't know what I'm talking about, disregard. Just know that we've got Black Cat Class and Rose Coat. I'm sorry, we have Orange Door Laura as our first card. So Laura, what are you going to play against this?
I'm going to play this card. So my turn, the other thing that we highly encourage is using our open hand while the students are playing, which may seem a little strange for the first like 2 minutes, but then they get into it. So if that's on the table, I would say black cat class, black cat example. I put that down, and then this is your discard. What are you going to play?
Good. So everyone, be sure you're watching in gallery view, because if you're watching in speaker view, you're only seeing one of us at any given moment, okay? In gallery view, you can see both of us holding up our cards, as well as the rest of you. Okay, so here we are, black cat, cat. Okay, you've got a blue card and you've got a black word. So I can now kind of disregard the one that I saw before, because now the one that Laura's holding up is the only one on the table if we're playing the traditional way. And now I can look at my cards and I'm looking and I see I can easily scan and see my blue moon words because they're color coded and image coded. And what that allows when you have these images is colorblind people can play. And that was a wonderful discovery we made very early on. Thank goodness for my father, because I had him play the early version without images, and he quickly pointed out that it was impossible for him to see the difference between so-called green and gray words. It's all the same to him. So, you know, with over 10% of our population worldwide being colorblind, that's really important. So I can scan my cards either by image or by color, and I can see both the top and the bottom cards the way we've outlined these, right? So I can quickly see I've got 2 blue options, and for fun, I would look at both and decide what words I feel like saying. And I will say this one, right? I'll choose this one. And what I love this word. Okay, so we have blue moon. In fact, who would be willing to? Belinda, Monica Bronstein, you're in the room, right? You want to come on and do our turn for us with your hand? But you have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There we go.
Blue canoe. Oh, wait.
Start with this one.
So so this is great. Watch.
Blue moon, beautiful. Blue moon canoe.
Beautiful. So watch what she's doing. She's going from the color on the outside to the image to the line. And the line is following, it's a left to right scanning literacy behavior. And you're applying the same sound, vowel sound, in all 3 of those. So you can all try at home now with the 2 cards. And Laura, you can put yours back up. We'll start with beautiful. Ready? So blue moon, beautiful. Blue moon canoe, right? So then we can have a moment if you're in the classroom where they say canoe, canoe, for example, and you can have that little mini discussion about schwa, canoe, right? And all the work we do to teach in this multimodal, kinesthetic, brain-based way, okay? So here we have canoe. Next turn.
Let's see, someone else want to take our turn? We're going to match the cup of mustard word on top. Now, do you want to try? Would you be willing to?
Okay.
All right. Start with Karen's card. That would be the one on the table.
Okay. A cup of mustard love. A cup of mustard come.
Beautiful. Great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Karen.
your card is up. My card is up. Okay. So I'm looking at my cards, everyone, and I see I have a mustard card here and here, and I also have a rose card down there. I think I'll choose this one, figure out what it is. There we go. Now here's a word that my husband is a speaker of Spanish, and it was when we played this game that he came across this word. He's a fluent speaker of English, mind you. And so he came across it and he said, essentially, a cup of mustard come, a cup of mustard kausin. And then he stopped, he said, wait a minute, cousin? He said, cousin? Is it cousin? I said, yeah, it's cousin. And he said, well, why didn't you ever tell me? I was saying it incorrectly. And I said, well, I guess I thought that was your accent. And he said, well, that wasn't my accent. That was the letters that were telling me it was probably kausin, like house. And I thought, well, that's logical. So, you know, it was great because as a fluent speaker of English, he has places, these little sort of gaps that he can go in and adjust. And I can't predict what words those are. Only he can encounter them and then notice them. So here's my word now. questions or comments on these cards so far or on the play so far? Can we do one more turn and then go back into some differences and some other news?
Karen, I think this is your turn to take. Why don't you do it? And let's do like 3 turns uninterrupted. I want you all to hear the rhythm of the spoken turn when the game starts going, because it's pretty interesting. Go ahead, Karen, take your turn.
All right, here we go. Rose boat home, rose boat low.
Rose boat low, rose boat over. Do you need to draw a card?
Here we go. I have one. Hold on. I have a whole deck I can choose from. Here we go. Okay, I have, there we go. Rose, let's see, a cup of mustard cover, a cup of mustard oven.
A cup of mustard oven, a cup of mustard because.
White tie why, white tie quiet.
I don't have one.
What are you going to do?
You don't have a card to match. You just draw another one. No. No. No.
Great day. Can't play. All right. So we've created a game that's very much, we call them sleeves. You know, there's a sleeve of Monopoly. These are all types of games that exist already in society. As Laura mentioned, it's great to sort of build on those for whatever it is you're doing with language teaching. And in this case, we're using the game Uno. You want to run out of cards, you play one card and another, but it's completely adapted to spoken English and pronunciation. Mm-hmm. I'd like to show you what happens when a young learner plays. This is a 7-year-old girl playing Color It Out, and see if I can get her to play. Come on, Aaliyah. Well, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll pull up another one in a minute. Okay, classroom footage, sure. Let me grab, interesting. Okay, I had a little tech fail there. So if we could take a couple questions, Jennifer, you could shoot those to Laura and I'll work on my video.
We haven't had too many questions, but Robin Barr has brought up a couple of interesting comments about what she does when she plays with her lower level students. So if you haven't read the comments in the chat, you might want to check out what Robin was saying about that and how important using the open hand is when playing this.
In fact, I was just noticing while Laura and Karen were playing that they were actually going a little too fast. If they had been in my class, I would have slowed them down, made them spend more time on the vowel.
So even more time with our hand out.
Yeah.
Right? Especially for the moving vowels, right? So if we have, for example, quiet, you know, a student could easily end up saying quiet, quiet. And so we want to have that white tie quiet, you know, time on white so that we can then go to the second syllable, right? Yeah.
And then what are some other things that we can be doing with these cards?
Yeah. Oh, Laura, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to show a photo. Once this game kind of went out into the world, we got some amazing things back. And one of the first things that we got back was realizing that students were taking these cards, realizing that there was value in them and doing all sorts of things with them. And so I'm just going to share a picture that we got from, I believe, Indonesia, which happened very early on. If you can see my screen, can you see that picture?
Yeah.
Students were playing, they called this snake style. So instead of putting the cards on top of each other like this when they play, they were stacking them like this, so the colors would continue, and then when it changed, they would change that. And the value in that, of course, is to see all the spelling patterns together as it changes, goes through, and they would go back and repeat many of the words. It wasn't just one turn, right, Karen? I think they were spending lots of time like reviewing as the game went on, and they loved seeing all of this together. there's one other picture I want to show you in a moment, but basically you can also play domino style, which I believe, I've got it right here actually. And Karen, you will appreciate this picture. These are Karen's kids when the game first came out. And if you can see, instead of playing sequentially, even in the snake style, they're branching out. And so they would play the cards this way, and then they would play another cup of mustard card to put on the side, just like dominoes. And this is actually a really very low competitive way of playing. If you have some students who really don't like, I don't know why, card games or don't like winning and being competitive, what ends up happening is it sort of doubles and triples the amount of practice, because they have to say cup of mustard cover, cup of mustard come, cup of mustard because. So they're extending this spoken turn, but it also offers more matching choices on the table, and there's less likelihood that they have to draw new cards and that they won't have a chance to play a card. So this is a nice, more relaxed way of playing that actually has lots of opportunity too.
Yeah, I have a child who does not like competition, or to be kind of to lose basically. And so it's great to play domino style for anytime you want to do a more of a collaborative kind of learning, rather than I beat you or I made you pick up 3 cards kind of thing.
Right.
Some students love to compete. It's also a game you can play by yourself. And so this is footage of a different 7-year-old, but equally wonderful footage. Here's Erin. Just listen to what she does by herself.
A cup of mustard cousin, a cup of mustard son, a cup of mustard love, a cup of mustard was, a cup of mustard one, a cup of mustard shut, a cup of mustard because, a cup of mustard what, a cup of mustard Sunday, a cup of mustard sun.
So this this was Erin playing by herself, and you can see she made kind of a fantastic patchwork of these cards and created a trail of mustard words, and then flooded them in this exhaustive kind of litany of mustard words.
We could call that like the quilt approach. Making this, blanket with these patches of different colors. That's really interesting.
Right.
Actually, one more picture I'd like to show you with what else you can do with the cards. And this ties back in with our spelling exploration activity. It's sort of a hands-on spelling approach. These are 2 of my students, and they finished a game really, really quickly. And when I went back, they had done this by themselves. They had not done spelling with me. They started saying, it says right here over on the blurb here, they were so excited to see the words on the cards and see the different spelling patterns. They did this instead of playing the game. Oops, sorry, lost it. There we go. They took all of the red cards and stacked them just like that. Just not dividing up within one color, but they wanted to see, how many different ways is cup of mustard spelled. And so they have all of the red cards, all of the black cards, and that's how they studied. They just kept playing and categorizing them and looking at it. And for them in that moment, that was what they needed. So you cannot play the game. You can use these as word cards, little flashcards. And then the extension of this is to focus in on one color. Say, how do you spell cup of mustard? Let's take all the mustard words, and then you have them sort out all the mustard cards, and then they organize them almost like a bar graph. So all of the words where a cup of mustard is O would go together. They see the next one, how do you spell cup of mustard? It's AU, that would be a separate column. Next word, how do you spell cup, or would be OU, that would be a 3rd column. And they really can see frequency and spelling patterns. And there's something really wonderful about having the tangible cards to move around, shuffle, play with, see, and touch. And I think it helps them learn and see those patterns.
Here is footage of some adults playing, and this is one of my earliest sort of study videos of what play can look like. So just take a listen here.
Gray, day, pay. Okay. Gray, day, gray. Perfect.
Notice what the gentleman, the first player, did, right? He said, gray, day, pay. So these are these very important small moments of self-correction that are discoveries for the student. And I'll just have you listen to that little piece again, and then we'll continue.
Okay.
Gray.
Gray,
Day.
pay,
Pay.
pay.
Okay.
Gray, day, great. Perfect.
Yes. Gray day April.
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 April. Good. So try again where you say gray day, great. Gray day, April. There's 6 words. 3 words, 3 words.
Okay.
This card, that card.
Okay.
Try it one more time.
So this is just learner training, getting him to use the spoken turn with those 6 beats, right? And here he goes again.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no, try again now.
Try again.
Okay.
Gray day gray.
Great.
Gray. Gray day April.
Very nice. That's
Nice, huh? Isn't that beautiful? So does he still have room to improve? Sure. You know, there's a lot of rewiring to do with that word April, but he has the opportunity to play again and again. And every time he comes across the word April, he's going to maybe catch himself or try to say, what is it I'm supposed to remember about this word? And then eventually, you know, at some point he'll realize that gray and day are the cues, or maybe earlier. And then we can add always back to the chart, you know, how to make sure he moves enough. Gray instead of gray, which sounds more red. So it comes right back to actual pronunciation and making those vowel differences. Everyone try gray day April. Gray day April. Or as we talked about last night, I ran a session last night with some of you there. We would simply say gray day April, because we start looking like big circular hands when we do this movement too often. So you can just try that with me. Gray day April. Great. And then he has time to move up.
Hey, Karen and Laura, we've had a couple questions about now that we're all physically distancing. We're not social distance because we're all together. But how can we take color it out and play it remotely?
Well, we just did it. I think it depends on, you know, who your students are, obviously, but kids, if they each have a deck, they will probably invent their own way of playing. But, you know, you can do a collaborative thing, sort of like what we just did. I hold up a card, gray day say, red pepper says, and Karen has to pull a card out of her hand and just keep playing. So that, even though it takes away the, oh no, I don't have a card to match aspect, it's still 100% practice. I mean, we can just keep going. Gray day say, or red pepper says, I hold it up and Karen says.
Gray day, sorry, oh, what do I have? Gray day say, gray day take. In fact, I think right now in this moment, those of you who have Color It Out with you could open up your deck and you could hold up the next plate of my card.
Right.
And I could pick. So if you all are my students in a remote learning classroom, you know, if you have a deck, take out a card. Lynn, maybe you have one now, right? Somebody else held up a deck.
If they don't have their own deck, though, if you know, your students
if
don't.
only there were an app.
That would be so helpful.
So
actually, before we talk about that, can I just point out a couple of things? In the first version, Karen and I paired the words that we wanted to use and came up with some just beautiful examples. Oh, sorry. Came up with some beautiful examples of collocations or words that we wanted to highlight. For example, say and says, no, says. So words that were very commonly thought of as the same color that weren't, or words like over and cover. Is it cover over or cover over? You know, words that look like they should be the same, but they're not. Again, another one with like OME, come home. So we had these words that were paired either in terms of optimal language opportunities for honing in on these words and, you know, drawing attention to them. And then we also came up with a lot of, oh, here's another one, like low and ho, no, how, low, low and how. And we also came up with a lot of words that in terms of meaning were collocations, like why, because. So in the first version, we did a pretty good job of matching with the words that we had. In the second version, we went through and now every single card has a reason why it's paired. So it's either one of these some incredibly similar looking spelled words that are different, or what one do you have, Karen?
I have quiet and voice, and I was thinking that maybe someone could make a sentence out of these.
So one extension of the game, you can take a turn for advanced learners and then say, okay, can you use those words in a sentence from your top card? So if we had played and then Karen played white tie, why, white tie, quiet, Karen or anyone else has to make a sentence.
And you can support that sentence in terms of the strategies again by saying, I have a white tie, quiet, turquoise toy voice.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quiet voice, something like that.
Right.
Or I could go backward. You could just start with a sentence, and if any corrections are needed, teacher can simply point to the word and the student goes back and then recast the sentence.
Right. Okay. So even a word, these two words linguistically don't have anything together, but you can say, my cup of mustard cousin is a purple shirt nurse. Mm-hmm. My cousin is a nurse. So really 100% of the cards have this feature. There's,
you know, I held this one up. Exactly. Take attendance.
That one right there. Shut your eyes. I'm still laughing. So it's just a nice, it's nice to have these collocations, especially things like this. I was born. We tried to make them sentences that students actually say.
And of course, there are many sentences they can make, but some of the collocations are really like was born is definitely one that they need to keep straight. It doesn't ever change. Those two words go together.
Exactly.
And I mean, if you see us smiling, it's because we spent, I don't know, two or 3 days back last August in Albuquerque working on the pairings. And that was the most joyful part of the whole process, is just deciding which words should spend time together.
I hurt my finger.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, it's just a nice, another level that you can extend the activity to. Or you can use these as sentence prompts and not play the game at all. Just, you can hand out a card to, you know, each student, and they have to write a sentence with that card and pass it to the student on their left and use it as just simple sentence prompts.
Yeah. The sky's limitless. One of the first times we made the first print edition, sort of 100 decks on cardstock, and they were big and heavy and bulky, and we, you know, eventually created professional decks. But with that set, I sent off an order to Colorado, and I followed up, and the woman had ordered 2 decks, and I thought, oh, that's neat. And so I followed up with her, and I said, hey, how's it going with Color Vowel Duo, which was the name of the game back then. And she said, it's great. You know, I cut one of the decks up in half. I said, what do you mean? You mean like you cut the deck into 2 decks? And she said, no, I took scissors to them. I said, well, why would you do that? And she said, well, I made mini flashcards out of them. Mm-hmm. And then she does word sorts. So all of the red words, they're clearly sorted already. They're all marked as red words. And she cut it right here. And then she has her student look at all of the red words on a table and sort them by vowel spelling pattern, right? And they're already underlined. So it really supports that kind of sorting activity, right? So they can say, okay, this is the AY pattern, there's the E pattern, they're in separate piles. And we don't have to deal with the other words because they're already cut off. And I thought that was brilliant. So we've been doing that ever since as part of our workshops. Laura, what are some of the other cards in the game?
I was just gonna do that.
Oh.
So we tried to make how to play in 2 different modes. One is just with words, and it's one, you don't have to read this now, but it's just 1 card size. You know, so how to play is that's just the skeleton, the verbal, the written. And then we also designed this, if you can see that, just graphically, this is your partner's or your opponent's hand, this is your hand, there's the deck, there's the discard, it says match one of them, can't read. Purple shirt heard, purple shirt learn. It shows you what to do and says can't match, draw from here. So we have the graphic and then we have the words also. So a combination of this should cover you. And then we have two cards that are actual charts, little mini charts. So you can give 1 to each side of the table. You can pass it around. And 2 of these, which I'll try and let you see. These are the anchor phrases, because we've had a lot of people just get their hands on the game and they don't know the chart. And so, you know, they will learn that the little cup of green stuff is not mint tea, it's green tea, you know, and that's olive sock. So they need this at the beginning if they don't know color vowel. So they don't say, you know, violet t-shirt and chili pepper. So they need these anchor phrase cards. So make sure that these are on the table for everyone to see if your students aren't familiar with color vowel. And we also have the same, we've got wild cards in the deck as well, the same as the first time. So those are just support cards to help you guys get started, help your students. I can't find the wild cards. Anyway.
As we take some more questions, I'll just sort of show you what an overview of what's in there. Hold on here. There we go.
Great.
So as far as that question, back to the question of what if our students don't have Color It Out. This is, by the way, what the actual game looks like. It's a nice box. We're really thrilled because we've learned our lesson. You know, we had a tuck box in our previous version that looked nice but fell apart pretty quickly. And so we, as usual, as teachers, all took out our plastic Ziploc bags and stored our games in there. But this time around, we do have a thumb-notched, really nice box with a card separator, and your cards fit in there forever. So this is what it includes. You've got your 200 some actual word cards plus 2 charts, 2 image key cards, and then the instructions that Laura held up, as well as wild cards and other special cards, which would reverse play or skip. Okay. Now, if you look at the box, you'll notice we've got, Color Vowel is our teacher-made company. We've been around doing our work for over 20 years. But about 4 years ago, right after Laura and I started manufacturing this early edition that we called Duo, we decided that it was time to cut down on the production cost and do this more effectively, to have rounded cards that you can really shuffle and touch and that would last, instead of cardstock that my 5-year-olds then at the time could bend once and it would just fall apart. So we did a Kickstarter campaign. And if you were listening to my Wednesday at 1 this week in Facebook, you know this story. But we cast around and we decided to do a Kickstarter. And so we ran a 1-month-long Kickstarter where you have to make this goal of money or you get none of it. And we canvassed hard to all of our friends and family and colleagues, and we made it. And so we created our game. And very shortly after that were the beginnings of a discussion with an old high school friend of mine that eventually by 2016 led to the creation of Blue Canoe, which is the other icon you would see when you look at that image again here, Blue Canoe. And Blue Canoe is a tech startup in Seattle, formed around the Color Vowel method of teaching English. And we have worked together to create an app that has voice recognition, machine learning, which is artificial intelligence, along with the method of teaching spoken English in this special way, so that learners can play Color It Out and a number of other activities in a mobile app on their phone. So we'd like to take and just let you know that next week we'll be doing a full demo of Blue Canoe again on Friday at 5. So you can join us for that. Jennifer is sharing, by the way, links to our workshops and webinars page where you can register for any of our upcoming events, okay, including Friday at 5. Wednesday at 1 on Facebook Live, I'll be just talking live about that process and what that's been like and how you actually can make an app that recognizes both, basically accented English of all stripes, whether it's native speaker accented English or non-native speaker accented English, and it can give feedback about what it's hearing and how to move more toward a range of native speaker accented English. Okay, so that's been pretty exciting stuff. We can show a preview of that when we have time, but I'd like to take some questions and we can open up the mics. I'd like to hear from those of you that already use Color It Out. Do you have insights that we haven't mentioned about some of the advantages of the game? Back to Color It Out itself. Anybody using it these days? I know you are.
We use it on the app. I didn't learn about this until you were all sold out, so I'm anxiously awaiting my new one.
Okay, wonderful. Well, yours, I think yours is on its way. I'm the head of fulfillment right now, sending out these things, so I know they're on their way. Chelsea's ordered hers. They should be getting to you soon, right? Good, good. Well, again, we've been playing with children, adults, native speakers, a mixture of native and non-native speakers. Everybody has fun in some way, we find, and teachers are minimally involved. You're not having, other than teaching the spoken turn and making sure that they continue with the idea of applying the same sound throughout the turn, then you can stand back and they're all set, right?
I have a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. One of the classes I teach at the Washington Literacy Center is for dyslexic adult native speakers of English. And they really, really enjoy playing Color It Out so much that the class is 2 hours long. And by the time we get to the second hour of class, they're agitating to, can we play Color It Out now? Can we play that now? And so it's not just about, it's not just about the pronunciation at all. One of the things that's particularly helpful is that they are able to do what's called tapping out the, they can sound out the words, because when they get to they can do the consonants, and then when they get to the vowel, it's already filled in for them by the Color It Out card. So they can use the techniques that they've been learning in class for phonologically regular words, regularly spelled words, but they can use it for sight words now as well. So it really empowers them.
You mean they can color it out instead of sounding
They can color it out instead of sounding it out, or sounding out the letters, they can sound out the colors, or however you want to, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it empowers them to use the same techniques that they've been using on this very restricted set of phonologically regular words that they're limited to. But now they can look at all these sight words, and they can realize that for a lot of them, they can, as long as they know what color it is, they can sound that one out too.
I have to do what I'm going to do right now. There's a jingle, and we're about to close down for the night anyway, but I'll go ahead and play it and see if we can, if you can hear it. Oh, that was duo, but here's the Color It Out jingle.
When you get sound it out, won't have fun, just color it out.
There you go. So keep that in your mind as the little jingle for the day. It's a jingle for the advertisement or the commercial that doesn't show on TV right now. But little by little, we have over 2,000 decks are out there with a lot of Color Vowel fans, and we're thrilled to get this new print edition out, and so happy you joined us today. Know that you can go to our shop to purchase Color It Out. We're now putting it in the envelopes and getting it in the mail to those of you who've already ordered your orders. Next week, Wednesday and Friday are dedicated to Blue Canoe. Wednesday's pretty much, you can type into Facebook Live comments and I just get on and sort of tell the story. But Friday, just like it is right now and here, is sort of the hardcore demo. And I'll be showing it to you live, as well as, some screenshots so you get a really close look. And if you already use Blue Canoe, how many of you do? Raise your hands. You either have it, okay. Okay, so if you don't have it or use it, know that what we've done is we've put Color It Out essentially into your phone, but also that we have, gosh, is it over 1,000 sentences in there, Laura? We have over 1,000 sentences that we've broken down into thought groups and that the learner gets to practice with voice recognition and feedback. And I will be giving you some tips, those of you who come, tips for how to actually use those sentences as curriculum, as content for your lessons. So if you're teaching remotely, come on over. It's free. You can get a free copy of Blue Canoe for yourself. There's currently an offer to get Blue Canoe for yourself and your students for free through June 30th. And on May 6th, actually, next Friday, Blue Canoe will launch also to the public, and there will be a free version. But since you're teachers, I recommend you get that free full offer through June 30th, because you'll get all of those sentences for that time. And then students can go ahead and revert to the free version that has the dictionary and all of the great stuff in it. If this is too much information, just know, go to Blue Canoe. Jennifer will be sharing a link, bluecanoelearning.com. It's very powerful, and there's nothing like it out there. So I hope you'll join us. I want to thank Laura for walking us through Colored Out. Can we all kind of do a thing like that, since we're not going to clap into the mics? Yeah, and she says thank you. It's just so much fun. We started doing Fridays at 5 about 2. That was my deck of Colored Out on the floor. We started doing this about 2 months ago when the shutdowns and the coronavirus era started, and we don't regret it a bit. We just enjoy seeing you, and this is so much fun. So hope you join us again. Okay. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.